Amazing. I'm back. CityJS Athens. What a beautiful venue. It's so lovely to be here, and admittedly, it's a bit warm, so I'm a bit sweaty right now. But essentially, I introduced you earlier. You came and said hello earlier, and I said the wrong name, and now I feel like an idiot. But naming things in computer science is difficult, and so your actual name is pronounced Eleftheria.
Yes.
Did I pronounce it properly?
It's Eleftheria, but it's okay. It's pretty close.
I'm terrible at pronouncing things. At least my name is easy. It's just Taz. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Taz is it's a bit easier. It's a bit easier, especially for people like me to kind of say these things. And so, naming things in comp sci is difficult. Like, I'm curious if your name means anything?
Yeah, it actually means freedom or liberty. It's the same word in Greek.
Oh, really? Oh, that's so cool. So you're from Greece, and so like this weather is fine for you.
No, it's too hot for me.
It's too hot for you still.
Well.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So if it's
we
too
had
hot
a
for
heat
her.
wave, so.
If it's too hot for her, it's certainly too hot for me. Like, my fragile Canadian body is used to the cold, not the warmth,
Yeah,
and so.
for you, it's for sure.
Yeah,
too hot.
yeah, it's way too hot. So your name means freedom or liberty.
Yes, exactly.
Do you happen to know what my name means?
Oh no, what?
So my name, my first name Taz is short for Tazvir or Tasvid as they pronounce it properly. If you can actually pronounce that properly, I cannot pronounce it properly. And my last name is Singh, and so Tasvid means picture, and Singh means lion. And so my name is picture of a lion, actually.
Wow, that's
and so
very cool.
for those of you viewers, I mean, you can kind of see the resemblance now to like a lion king. I trimmed down my mane. My mane isn't so big these days, but there you go, picture of a lion for all of you watching online. Naming things is difficult, and that's the name that my parents chose. And so I don't know. I think your name is cooler. Freedom and liberty. It sounds a bit cooler, you know?
Yeah, but it's difficult to pronounce it.
It's difficult to pronounce. It's difficult to pronounce. Do you also shorten your name like I do?
No.
No?
I don't. Yeah, because like for English I will say Elef. But for Greece there is not such a thing, so it will be the full name. But for the Greeks it's not difficult to pronounce.
It's much easier to pronounce. Yeah.
And it's a common word. So.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Wow, I learned something new today. That's awesome. This is why we come to conferences and meet lovely people. And so, but yeah, I just met you the other day, and we got talking, and Eleftheria is involved in a lot of community activities as well. And so I believe you're currently doing community work at Hashnode.
Yes.
So apologies for my ignorance, but can you tell me a bit more about what that is and what you do there?
I'd love that. So right now I'm a community manager at Hashnode, and Hashnode is a free blogging platform, which means that everyone can go there, right? We have a big community of developers, so it's very specific to developers, to tech and stuff like that. So it's a nice community and a nice blogging platform.
That sounds amazing. And for those of you that know me, I mean, like, it's things like this that I really enjoy. And so talking to her the other night, I was just like, my mind was just going off with all this inspiration. And so I absolutely love what you're doing now. But you didn't start there. And so I guess, like, how did you start your developer journey? Like, did you go to school for that? Like, can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, sure. So when I was 18, I had to give my finals exams here in Greece. And the system here is that you will give the final exams and then you can pick a university. But to go to that university, it depends on your grades. So I knew that I wanted to work with maths, physics, something like that, maybe computer science. So yeah, I had my exams, my final exams. But the problem was that my grades were not so good in order to pass to the university that I wanted to. But that specific year in Greece, we had a law that if you had a sister or a brother in the same university that you wanted to pass, then even if your grades were not so good, you could still go to that university. And I was very lucky because my sister was studying at the same university. So that's how I got in.
Well, she's studying like math and physics and all that as well?
Yeah, we graduated from the same university.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to go to that same university
and exactly
study...
the same, yeah.
And were you studying math and physics? Or?
Yes, we started like with maths and physics because the first 2-3 years for all the polytechnical universities it's the same, and then you can choose what you want. So I wanted then to continue with computer science.
Oh wow.
Yes, and it was also a bit weird because my grades when I was 18 weren't that good, people then assumed that maybe I couldn't graduate from that university. So it was a challenge for me to prove that I can do that. It's okay that when I was 18, my exams were not that good, but then I graduated second of my class.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh, wow!
Yeah.
What changed? Did you just become more passionate, become more
I think
focused?
that just when I was 18, I was studying. I wanted that, but maybe in the final exams, I don't know. Maybe I was too nervous. Maybe I don't know. Something happened, and my grades were not that good.
Oh well, I'm happy to hear that it all worked out in the end, and obviously it did, because you're here now. I mean, you're just speaking at one of the top conferences out there for the world, really, and with your community work at Hashnode and just your general career. I mean, it's obviously worked out. So that's so lovely to hear. So you went to university, you went to school, you studied comp sci, computer science type of stuff then, and then what? Did you get a job in the field, or?
Well, then I wanted to find a job, but it was a bit difficult because I didn't have, any projects or something to show to the people that they, like to my boss or to my manager, I didn't have anything to show. So, fun fact, I started doing the challenge 100 Days of Code on Twitter.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
not sure if you know it.
Oh, wow, I know it.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I did that.
Oh, wow.
And it helped me a lot because it helped me create a portfolio, and that's what I needed. Every day I was coding, I was uploading something on GitHub, and then in the end of the 100 days, I had experience, I had projects, I had done quite a few things.
Yeah.
And I started applying to jobs, and that's how I found my first job, which was about front-end development and app development, and I was working more with JavaScript.
That's really interesting that like even though you went through a whole comp sci curriculum and you have a whole degree and everything, and you obviously know what you're doing, you still had to create a portfolio on GitHub. You still had to go through 100 days of code. You still had to do all of this extra work to prove yourself and kind of be able to get those jobs.
Because through university I was getting only some basic things. My level was still not so good that someone would hire me. So that's why I needed to be more specific. For example, I focused on JavaScript. And, yeah.
Did you focus on a specific framework, or did you focus on JavaScript as a whole? Or?
Well, this is a good question. First, I started with JavaScript, but then I said, okay, I will pick something, like React, Vue, or Angular. And that's the problem. I picked Angular.js, not Angular, Angular.js. And maybe if people don't know that, Angular.js is very different from Angular, and currently it's deprecated. No one is using it.
Is Angular.js the one with transclusion?
I'm not sure about that.
Because I think the early versions of Angular, I think Angular 1.
Yeah, that's what I was
using. That's Angular.js.
Yes.
It had this very complicated, very difficult to explain concept of transclusion, which was a way that you would build custom components and pull in data and different types of transclusion and this and that. And for us English speakers, I mean, we never use this word transclusion anywhere, and so for us, a lot of programming out there, it's kind of centered around words that we're familiar with, and so we kind of understand. Okay, it's a function. It functions. You know what I mean? It has a return. It gives something back, is what a return does. There's a variable, which is something that changes, because that's what variables do. You know what I mean? There's all these words in programming that we're familiar with, and then suddenly Angular dropped this word transclusion, and we're like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And then they had all these different types of transclusion. There's E-type transclusion. I think A-type transclusion. There's all these different types of transclusions, and it was near impossible to understand or kind of make sense of, and so that's what you started with.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So,
oh my goodness.
But it's kind of okay, because at my first work we were using Angular.js.
Okay.
So that was kind of okay, but then no one else was using it. It was just us.
Yeah. So then you learned that, you got a job, and then you transitioned to what, Angular itself, or?
No, then we changed completely to React Native.
Oh, to React Native.
Yeah, but
wow.
At that point I changed field, so I stopped working in that job.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't
And
have
you started working at a new job where you did React
Yes.
Native. Okay, very cool, very cool. I love React Native. We built all of Guild on React Native,
Okay.
and so I'm a huge fan of React Native. And yeah, like I'm hoping that you enjoyed React Native a bit more than Angular
Yes.
and E-type transclusion.
Thank God, yes.
It's insane what you can do with React Native, isn't it? It's just such a cool paradigm, such a cool framework. I really enjoy just building things in React Native. So, like, you started building things in React Native yourself.
Yeah, but like I don't want to say too much because it was not something fancy or something very professional, you know.
Fine.
Yeah, small projects. But yeah, it worked well.
Awesome. And this was at a new job.
No, this was like in a transition phase because at that job with Angular.js, they gave us a few months in order to relearn something like
gotcha.
React. Yes.
Gotcha.
So that's how I began working on that.
That's awesome. That makes a ton of
Yeah.
sense.
At least my company, like, they were very kind with the developer because they gave us a lot of time to learn something new.
That's awesome. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, like that's what it takes to be a good developer is just constant learning, constant writing of code, and constant exploration. And so it's awesome that like they recognize that and kind of foster that internally as well.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you did all those things. It's quite a journey already. Of like almost not even getting to go to university, going to university, actually studying, like learning some more, building some more, proving yourself some more, Angular.js, React Native. Wow, that's a lot of things going on in there. So what happened next? Did you start becoming a React Native developer then, or?
No.
No. That's another no.
Yeah, because that company as well, they didn't have designers, so
What?
The developers. Yeah, it was a small startup company. It's okay. Yeah. I mean, we had a designer, but he was doing everything. He couldn't help every team.
Right.
Yeah. So as a front-end developers, we had to make a lot of design decisions. And at that point, I was feeling that I'm not doing my best. Like, I'm making some decisions, but like I don't have a base. Like, I haven't researched that. Like, why is that blue? Why is that white? Why do you have something in that specific way? So I started being more interested in design. And then I also learned that it's not only design, it's also research. And again, at that point, I said, okay, I want to do a master's in order to be good at something.
So you went back to school?
Yes, but it was an online, so it was okay. The problem was that this master's was 3 years, like full-time 3 years.
Wow.
Yes.
But now you're a master though.
Yeah. I should be. I did that like 3 years.
So you did 3 years for what, UI, UX?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, wow.
Yes, and it was very different for me because I was coming from a polytechnical university. I was like more, as I said earlier, maths, physics, and computer science, and everything was very practical. But with design and research, things are not so practical. So it was, I had to change a lot of things on the way that I was thinking, and that was nice, that was challenging, but I hope that now I'm better at it.
Wow, that's insane. So that's quite a diverse set of skill sets, really. That's like the fullest of stacks in a way, right? Like the entire front end space from UI, UX, physically implementing all of that in code as well. Wow. So now you understand why it's blue and why it's.
I think, like, I want to believe that I do understand some things. Yeah.
That's remarkable. Wow, that's a lot of schooling. So what, like the first one was what, 4 years? Or?
No, 5 years. 5 years.
5 years. 5 years for the first one.
Yes,
and then another 3 years.
Yes, so
that's
it was
8 years of schooling.
Yes.
Ooh, but on top of obviously high school and everything else, you don't normally do. That's 5 years of
really a lot.
I think post-secondary is I think what it's called. Like for me, I'm a dropout. I'm a university dropout.
Really,
so
I didn't know that.
Don't ask me about any sort of schooling. I would tell you to just get out there and start coding and just start learning. And so that's crazy. Wow. I think in North America in 8 years' time you can get an undergraduate degree and then get like a law degree or a medical degree as well. But over here, like that's crazy that the Polytechnic was 5 years.
Yes.
And then on top of that, 3 years for UI UX.
Yeah, the Polytechnical and to be a doctor, I think these two things are 5 years. Everything else is 4 years.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you went through, you learned all of that. Were you working while you're doing your master's as well?
I was working the first 2 years, but then on the third year I couldn't do that anymore, and also it was during COVID. So I decided to drop my work, my previous job, and focus only on my master's, and that's what I did. But then again, funny story, as I had dropped out of my other work, I was always very active in different communities, like in Twitter, on YouTube. I was writing articles, and I still do those things. So at some point, the current job that I have, Hashnode, they approached me and they had an opening for a community manager. Again, to be honest, I was a little bit skeptical because it was something very, very different than I used to do. And maybe like I had Twitter, I was going to conferences, but it's different to do it for you, like personal things, and it's different to do it for a company. Of course, they knew that I didn't have any professional experience, but they were okay with that. And thank you, people at Hashnode, for hiring me. So now everything is fine, and yeah, that's what I do.
That's amazing. So are you producing content for them then? What does that entail? Because as you mentioned before, you were on Twitter. I'm assuming you've given talks. I'm assuming you've written blog posts and
exactly.
what were you doing before that kind of made Hashnode interested in you and to hire you and what are you doing now?
Yes. So. What I used to do is like I was very active on Twitter, and I still am. And because I was learning all of those things, I had a lot of content in my mind, and I wanted to write down everything. So I was also writing blog posts, and I was usually like I was going to Hashnode or other blogging platforms, and I was uploading my content there. I was also doing some YouTube videos, like especially I was doing that when I was coding and designing because I wanted to show people what I do, and I was also doing the YouTube thing. So Hashnode pretty much wanted someone which would have the same skills. Like
interesting.
Yeah. They wanted someone for social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. So I was okay with that. They wanted something that they could write articles, and I was already doing that.
Did you say Instagram?
Yes.
You do coding on Instagram?
I don't code at Instagram, but maybe I will share some tips like so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
wow.
productivity tips or tips how you can improve your code or tips how you can create something like, I don't know, useful.
Did you say TikTok?
No, I'm not so young, so I don't use TikTok.
I think TikTok always like fascinates me because like the one thing I know about TikTok, it's all about the dances. You know what I mean? It's like, and I'm just like, how do you teach people to code with a dance? You know?
Exactly. That's my question as well.
I never understood how that worked, and so I thought I might get the answer to that question, but apparently you don't know either. So we'll have to wait to answer that question. But so like all of this content creation and kind of community involvement is what Hashnode reached out to you for.
Yes.
And then are you doing the same thing at Hashnode now? Or?
Yes, pretty much I do the same thing. I take care of all the social media, I take care of their content, and of course now we have a team of people, but back then when I started they weren't so big, like they didn't have many employees. And I also take part in organizing hackathons. We have a lot of hackathons, and then some online meetings and other kind of stuff like challenges, even giveaways, everything.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's a lot. That's a lot to manage.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Like content is difficult, and so doing that, as you said, like the first time for a company, I can imagine the difficulty and challenges of that to do all these different types of content, all these different types of community outreach, and just fundamentally talk to a lot of people. I'm sure, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was very different than what I used to do.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's super cool. I'm looking forward to kind of seeing the next evolution of that. That sounds super interesting.
Thank you.
So I'm curious. Like you gave a talk today.
Exactly.
What was the talk about?
It was about UX and UI and how you can improve your product even if you don't have a designer. Exactly.
And you're the master at that now. You're the master at that.
Yeah. So it was a nice talk.
Oh, that's awesome. That's such a cool concept and kind of content there as well.
Yeah, because I've noticed that a lot of front-end developers, they have their own products, they want to have a product, and if you are alone, if you don't have a team, you won't have a designer. But there are a few specific steps that you can follow in order to improve your product, and that was my base.
That's so cool. Well, actually, if to go check her out, I think the talks will be uploaded soon. But regardless of that, she's all over online, and so you can go check her out on really any of those platforms she mentioned. And I'm really curious about TikTok. If you ever do a TikTok,
No,
I'm
no.
gonna be dead curious how you teach developers how to code with dancing, because I'm a terrible dancer, and so I'm terrible at teaching anyone about anything with dance.
I'm actually good with dancing, but not with that kind of dancing. I used to do ballet.
What?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's so
Yeah.
difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It takes a lot of time to learn. Like you have to start really young, no?
Yes. you
Wow.
do.
Okay. Wow. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you can teach developers how to do ballet,
That would be interesting.
that would be a very interesting thing to do. But yeah, I think you said you're going to run away, so you're heading off. So thanks so much for taking the
Thank
time
you, it was my
and talking.
pleasure.
And
Thank you,
I
really.
hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to go follow her online, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.